Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And two, top 10 time again. Monday, we do this every Monday during the college football season. I release my own top 10 list. Now, I know today is Labor Day, so we have a game tonight. A game involving two pretty good teams, Florida State and Virginia Tech. So how can I do the top 10 poll when those two teams have yet to play? Well, I will talk about that a little bit when I get to the poll. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Some of them are even watchable. Thumbs up this video, and let's get right into the top 10. All right, here we go. Real quick before we get started, I'm going to run through the schedule for this week. Today's Monday, top 10 list. The next 3 days, I will be doing preview videos for week 2 games. Most likely going to do the SEC preview tomorrow, which is Tuesday. I'll do the top 25 preview on Wednesday, and I will do all the other games that are of interest to me on Thursday. So 3 days of previews, and then of course Friday we'll have a Georgia video. It's possible I'll release another Georgia video or two at some point during the week, but I'm not sure exactly when that would be yet. It would be in the afternoon. The regular scheduled videos will come out every morning like they always do. Anything extra will come out in the afternoon. Playing South Carolina this week. Pretty good game. May get around to 1 or 2 extra Georgia videos this week. If you're a Patreon member, make sure you get in touch with me this week, today, preferably Monday, and let me know what games you want me to preview for this coming up week 2, and I'll make sure to include those in the preview videos that I do over the next 3 days. If you want to join up on the Patreon page, click the link in the description of this video. It'll take you over there. Get yourself signed up. We give a jersey away every month. There's all kinds of cool stuff in there anyway. If you want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it, and I would appreciate it. All right, here we go. Here's last week's top 10. Ugh. Yeah. Swing and a miss on a few of these here. Did I really have Michigan number 5? Yep. Did I really have Texas number 10? Yep. Now, in my own defense, I guess, I admitted when I made that poll and put those teams there, and all during the offseason, if you listen to me really, that I knew I was going out on a limb with Michigan and Texas especially. I knew I was way higher on them than everybody else was. But, I mean, let's just be real. If all I wanted to do was copy the coaches' poll and put it up here, it would be boring as hell. No one would watch it. You got to mix it up a little bit. I did think Michigan would be much improved this year with Shea Patterson. Boy, was I wrong. Texas, I've been a believer in Tom Herman. I said no way to losing to Maryland 2 years in a row. Boy, was I wrong. So, yeah, there will be some movement in the top 10 this week for sure. You guys know I'm not afraid to move these teams around in the top 10. Just because a team wins doesn't mean they stay where they're at or move up. If you barely beat a bad team, you may move down. If you're going to play bad teams, and I'm not knocking anybody for playing bad teams, hell, Georgia played Austin Peay, you better dominate them, okay? You better do what Georgia did to Austin Peay, what Oklahoma did to FAU, what, I could go on and on. Don't do what Penn State did to App State. That's not what a dominant elite team is supposed to do. Barely beat App State in overtime. That's not cutting it. Anyway, so yeah, last week's top 10. I guess I'll leave it up, right, so we can see how it changes from last week to this week. But anyway, here we go. Let's start with this week's top 10. Number 10. All right, number 10. To be determined. I'm going to put whoever wins tonight's game between Virginia Tech and Florida State in my number 10 spot. Is either one of those teams a legitimate top 10 team this year? Or who knows? Too early to tell. But this would be a pretty good win. Now, what are some other teams I could have considered putting in that top 10 spot? I could consider putting Washington there. They lost, but they lost to Auburn. I could consider putting Michigan there. They lost, but they lost to Notre Dame. I'm not going to have any teams with any losses in my top 10 for probably at least the first month of the season, I would say. Depending on how things go. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of teams in the top 10 at the end of the year who have losses, obviously. But you got to give teams some respect. You start out 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. That has to mean something versus losing a game. So just fair warning for the rest of the top 10 here for this week and probably next week and the week after too. You won't see any losses in my top 10. But I'm going to go ahead and put the winner of tonight's game, Virginia Tech and Florida State, in this number 10 spot. Of course, I've predicted Florida State to win this game. But I've swung and missed on a lot of big picks in week 1, so I'm not sure how much faith you want to put in that pick. But I'm going to stick with it. That's the pick I made in the offseason. That's the pick I made this past week during the game previews. I'm going to stick with it now and go with Florida State. But the winner of this game, be UNCLELOU's 10th ranked team. Number 9. Number 9, LSU. Listen, if you're going to punish teams for scheduling a big game week 1 and losing, like Washington or Michigan, then you got to reward teams for scheduling a big game and winning, right? And that's what LSU did. They put Miami on the schedule. They played this kickoff game in Jerry World out in Dallas, and LSU comes out and absolutely dominates. A very impressive win. An argument could be made that this was one of the most impressive wins of the weekend. Most everybody had Miami as a top 10 team heading into the season. Yes, I know that means nothing. That's all we have to go off of right now is week 1 in preseason rankings. That's it, okay? LSU came in and dominated this game. Dominated. Were they up 27-3 at halftime? I believe they were. Ended up winning, 33-17. So, and the game really wasn't even that close. LSU took their foot off the gas in the second half, slowed the game down, played defense. Miami's got a lot of issues they need to work on. They got absolutely mauled and manhandled on the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Malik Rozier. I tried to tell Miami fans during the offseason this guy wasn't the answer. They wanted to argue. It was clear, I think, to everybody last night that he's never going to take Miami to where they want to go. He's a fifth-year senior, though. This is his last year. They got some young QBs there. We'll see. I don't know. But Mark Richt still doing Mark Richt-type things. But listen, you got to give LSU credit. People have harped on Ed Orgeron. He's on everyone's hot seat list heading into this year. Not a whole lot of expectations for LSU this year. New quarterback that they brought in from Ohio State, new offensive coordinator, no returning running backs on their team that had ever scored. Their leading returner had 90 yards last year. No running backs that had ever scored. This Brissett, whatever his name is, he had a good game last night. But you got to give LSU some credit. Not only did they win, they absolutely dominated this game from start to finish against a quality opponent in Miami. You can argue or not whether they're a legitimate top 10 or top 15 team or whatever, but they are a quality opponent, a 10-win team from a year ago. Played in the ACC title game, played in a New Year's Six bowl. A legitimate team, and LSU just absolutely manhandled them. I have LSU coming in here at number 9. Number 8. All right, number 8, another team new to the top 10 this week, the Barn. Again, you got to reward these teams for scheduling tough teams and winning. Now, a little truth in advertising here. I recorded the Auburn-Washington game because it came on the same time the Georgia-Austin Peay game came on. So I have not watched the entire Auburn-Washington game. I did flip it over during commercials. I have 2 TVs set up out here, so it was on the TV about half the time. What I was doing is I had the Georgia game on one TV, and I was on the other one. I was flipping back and forth between the Auburn game and the Tennessee-West Virginia game. So I have not seen the whole game. But what I did see of this Auburn, well, let me say this. Either Auburn and Washington both have 2 of the best defenses in all of college football, or their offenses aren't that good. This was a sloppy game. Boneheaded penalty after penalty after penalty, red zone turnovers, missed field goals, and I'm talking about both teams here. Neither one of these teams looked very well prepared to go out and play. Again, I have not watched the whole game, and is it possible Auburn and Washington both have defenses that are so good it forced the offenses to look like that? Yes, that's possible. Now, the offenses made some plays on both sides. I'm not trying to say these offenses are no good. But if you guys watched this game, it was a field goal fest. It was a penalty fest. It was a turnover fest. It was a missed field goal fest. It wasn't a, I don't know. It was a strange game all the way around. And hard to say what it means going forward for either of these teams. And you can say that about every single team in week one, because no matter who you beat or who you lose to, you don't know anything about that team other than what they did last year. Now if Washington wins its next 4 games 40-10, then obviously that makes Auburn look a lot better, right? Same thing with Washington. If Auburn wins its next 4 games 40-50-0, that makes Washington look great. So, you got to wait and see on these kinds of things, but you got to reward a team for playing a game like this. And Auburn was not in my preseason top 10. Of course, I had picked Washington to win this game. It was a back and forth game. This was one of the hardest games of the weekend to pick, and I've been saying it all offseason. But I did go with Washington. I did get it wrong. You got to reward the barn for this win. Here they are making their debut in the 2018 UNCLELOU poll.
Number 7.
All right, another team that makes its way into the UNCLELOU poll for the first time this season, Notre Dame. Everything I've said about Auburn, you can say about Notre Dame. Just swap the teams around. You got to reward a team for winning. You got to reward a team for scheduling a tough opening game, right? I don't see any other way really to do it. Notre Dame really came out and dominated Michigan, which is kind of surprising to me, especially Notre Dame's offensive line. Did a pretty good job with Michigan's defensive front, and I sort of thought that might be the difference in the game, but the other way around. I wasn't sure Notre Dame's offensive line would be able to handle the front of Michigan. They lost a couple of NFL linemen from last year's team, but Notre Dame's got a good offensive line. Wimbush played better than I thought he would play. Still not an elite passer, I don't think, but he did enough to get the job done, so you got to give credit where credit is due. Michigan, on the other hand, I don't know what Michigan's going to do. Jim Harbaugh continues to lose big games year after year after year. I hate to keep going over this time and time again, but the guy's making $7-8 million a year. He's never beat Ohio State. He's got 1 win against Michigan State and never finished higher than 3rd in his division, and he's the 2nd, 3rd highest paid coach in football. It just makes no sense. Shea Patterson comes in. People thought this was going to be like the missing ingredient on offense, including me. I said, well, the defense will be elite. They needed a quarterback. Here it is, Shea Patterson. Michigan's offense, it looked like the same old, same old. I don't know what's going on with Michigan up there on the offensive side of the ball. They've got a lot of issues. Because of the division they're in, I don't think this is a loss they can easily get over. I seriously doubt you see Michigan back in UNCLELOU's top 10 this year. After the way I saw them play against Notre Dame, I can't see them running through the Big East without taking 2 or 3 more losses at least.
Number 6.
All right, number 6, Ohio State. Now, I'm not going to lie. As I was working on this poll, I flip-flopped back and forth between Notre Dame and Ohio State at this 6 and 7 spot, and I easily could have put Notre Dame at 6 and Ohio State at 7, but this is how I ended up landing. Ohio State's offense looked absolutely amazing. Their defense gave up 31 points to something called Oregon State. And you say, UNCLELOU, at least it's a Power 5 team. At least Ohio State had the guts to schedule a Power 5 team. Yeah, Oregon State, one of the worst Power 5 teams in America. You're talking about an offense that is absolutely abysmal at Oregon State, okay? No playmakers, no huge explosive plays last year. A team that has struggled to move the ball against Pac-12 defenses ran up and down the field, really, on Ohio State. 30-something points you gave up to the Beavers. Now, say what you want, and I'm sure you will. Weather delay, whatever. Did you have? Everybody else had one. You probably did too, and that's what everyone's blaming everything on. So weather delay. We put the backups in. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We scored 70-something points. Who cares? They scored 30. I get it. And it's not like you gave up 55 to Iowa. 31 to Oregon State, though. But still, an impressive win. Haskins looked good. Dobbins looked good. Ryan Day looked good. Urban Meyer wasn't there. He's suspended. He's human garbage. But let's hold off on Ohio State. Let's see them play TCU here in a couple of weeks. And we'll know a lot more about them then. But seems like a fair spot for right now to put Ohio State in everybody's preseason top 10. One of the most talented teams in America. Probably one of the, got to be in the top 5 in terms of total talent on the roster, top to bottom, right? If you just look at like the last 4 recruiting classes or whatever. So feels like a fair spot to put Ohio State.
Number 5.
All right, here we go to top 5, starting out with Oklahoma. Dominating win over Lane Kiffin and FAU. Didn't surprise me that Oklahoma put up that many points, but I'm not going to lie, I was impressed with Oklahoma's defense. Say, well, Florida FAU's not even a Power 5 team. I get that, but it's a Lane Kiffin team. They've got some offensive weapons. Lane Kiffin is an elite offensive mind. I was surprised that Oklahoma's defense was able to hold them. What was it? Was it 14 they held them to? Yeah, 63-14. You beat FAU. So hats off to Oklahoma's defense. You impressed Uncle Lou. Played a lot better than what I thought you would. Oklahoma has caught a lot of slack for the last few years, really, for their weaknesses on the defensive side of the ball, especially after the Rose Bowl. What happened there? I mean, really, it looked like Oklahoma had never practiced tackling. And I've been hard on Oklahoma's defense, but let's give credit where credit is due. Is FAU Ohio State? No, but they're a good team with a good offense and a head coach that has an elite offensive mind, and you guys pretty much shut them down, holding them to 14 points. So again, you got to give credit where credit is due here. So hats off to Oklahoma's defense. Oklahoma looks like the real deal. Kyler Murray played well. They've got some weapons on offense. You know I love Rodney Anderson. Kyler Murray's did a pretty good job getting rid of the ball. Of course, he ran some using his feet. Which is what a lot of people have been expecting. He's going to be more of a runaround type guy than Baker Mayfield was, right? People have been, I mean, this is not anything you don't already know. So he looked good. The offense looked great. Defense looked better than I thought it would look, and Oklahoma gets a convincing win week 1, 63-14 over FAU. They come in at number 5.
Number 4.
All right, and I'm just going to put the top 4 up now because it didn't change from last week. UGA 4, Wisconsin 3, Clemson 2, Alabama 1. Start at number 4, Georgia. And you say, oh, Lou, it was Austin Peay. And I know, believe me, here we come with the, who have Georgia played, Lou? I know. And yes, Austin Peay, an FCS team. What do you want me to say? Oh, they're ranked 23rd in the FCS. They'll most likely make the playoffs in the FCS. They won 8 games, like whatever you want me to say. I mean, I know it's Austin Peay, okay? But the point is, if you're going to play one of these types of teams, do what Georgia did. Dominate them from start to finish, 45-0, okay? And this game easily could have been 60-something-0. The fourth quarter was shortened. They didn't even play a 15-minute fourth quarter. They knocked 5 minutes off, so they only played a 10-minute fourth quarter. Most of the starters were out midway through the second quarter in this game. So Georgia did what they were supposed to do against an inferior team. And for people that will say, well, it doesn't matter, it's Austin Peay, you can't tell it. Listen, when Georgia was busy winning 8 games a year, okay, we were barely beating teams like this, Nicholls State. So don't tell me you can't tell the difference. Of course you can tell the difference, okay? Why is Penn State not in it? Anybody want to tell me Penn State should be in my top 10 list? No, I didn't think so. You know why? Because they played a team they should have beat 45-0, and they struggled and barely beat them in overtime. So if you're going to play an Austin Peay or an FAU or an Oregon State or whatever, any of these other, who'd Clemson play? Furman, any of these teams. If you're going to play them, you better go out and beat them a whole lot to a little, and that's what Georgia did. Hats off to Georgia, the only team in the top 10 to pitch a shutout.
Number 3.
All right, and then Wisconsin at number 3. They dominate Western Kentucky 34-3. Now, you look at that score and you say, well, all these other teams that played these nobodies scored a lot more. Well, beat teams by a lot more. It's a 31-point win. Is that really that impressive to keep their number 3 ranking? I told you about Wisconsin when I was picking this game. What was the spread? The spread was 36 or 38 points on this game. And when I was doing the preview of this game, I looked right into the camera and I said, is Wisconsin ever going to beat anybody by 36 points? Not that they can't, but you just got to look at the style of football they play. They run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. They get out to a 2, 3, 4 touchdown lead, 21-0, 28-3, 28-7, whatever. They're going to slow the game down. I mean, there's no point in them trying to run 100 plays against Western Kentucky. So I'm not surprised this game was a little bit closer maybe than what the experts thought it would be. But still, you play Western Kentucky, you dominate them on both sides of the ball, giving up nothing more than a field goal there. Jonathan Taylor had a good game. What did he have, about 160, 170? A couple of touchdowns. Bryce Love, where are you, sir? You fell off the map already after week 1. I don't know, 1.8 yards a carry or something against San Diego State. I don't know, 28 yards or something. Anyway, Jonathan Taylor did what he was supposed to do. Wisconsin dominated an inferior opponent. Wisconsin's got a brutal schedule. We'll see how long they can stay in UNCLELOU's top 4. But there they are right now. And I mean, I know I'm higher on Wisconsin than some other people are. I'm going to, that's just what it is. We'll see what happens when they get into the meat of their schedule. But I like their offensive line. They bring 18, 19 starters back. They got a good defense. Best player in America, in my opinion, in Jonathan Taylor. We'll see. There's Wisconsin, number 3.
Number 2.
All right, and of course, Clemson at number 2. The Taters dominated Furman 48-7, right? Yeah. Only reason anybody watched this game was for one reason only. What was that? To see Trevor Lawrence. He didn't disappoint. He came in and he looked good. You don't have to know that much about football to watch 5 minutes of Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant play and say, why does that Trevor Lawrence guy throw it so much better than the Kelly Bryant guy? I mean, it's just an obvious thing. You know how, well, you probably don't know. Anytime somebody sues somebody or tries to get porn shut down or something like that and the government has to get involved, they're always trying to get the government to define what porn is, right? And there's a famous quote from a case in the 80s. I can't remember who said it, but they were trying to get a congressman or a senator or somebody to just define what porn is so we know what we can do and can't do or whatever. And the guy says, I can't define porn, but I know it when I see it. That's what the guy said. You could say the same thing about Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant and who has a better arm. I mean, you just see it and you just know, okay, this guy's got something here. Now, Kelly Bryant had a good game too. So hats off to him. This definitely isn't like a Tua Hurts situation. Tua really good too. Hurts is just awful. I mean, you just can, it's plain as day. I won't say Kelly Bryant is that bad, but it's obvious that Trevor Lawrence has more arm talent. In my opinion, it's a matter of time this season before he takes over as starter. If he can get the playbook down, cut out stupid mistakes, stuff like that. Learn to read the blitzes that are coming, whatever. Make all the audibles, that kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about? It's stuff the freshmen sort of have to go through every single year. If he can get that stuff down, I don't have a doubt in my mind he'll become the starter at some point this year. He just is a once-in-a-generation type talent at the quarterback position. But again, Clemson, a team that played an inferior team in Furman, but they came out and did exactly what they were supposed to do, dominating this game 48-7. They looked good in all 3 phases of the game, special teams, offense, defense. I mean, everyone knows about Clemson's front 4, absolutely elite. Playmakers at the wide receiver position. T. Higgins is going to be, watch out for T. Higgins. That's all I'm going to say about that. The offense, explosive. Defense shut Furman down. Yes, it's Furman, but again, they came out and did exactly what they were supposed to do.
Number 1.
All right, and Bama, the only team in the top 4 to take on a Power 5 team, so no way they were getting dropped. A dominating win over Louisville, 51-14. Tua is the quarterback. I mean, I just don't know. I understand what Saban's doing, but look, it's over now. He can't transfer now. The season has started. He's gone after this year, though. I mean, Hurts is gone after this year, period. You already know. The best piece of information I gained from watching that Alabama-Louisville game over this past weekend, here's the best tidbit of information I gained from watching that. I heard the announcer say when talking about Jalen Hurts, he's on pace to graduate in December. My antenna went up. Ding, ding, ding. I said, okay, yep. So you know what that means. A graduate transfer doesn't have to sit out. So this guy's Jalen Hurts, as long as he graduates in December, he's ghost. He's gone, okay? He'll beat another team and he'll be starting somewhere else next year. Could it be Tennessee? We'll see. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, he'll be gone. Tua is obviously a better quarterback. It's nothing against Hurts. It's nothing against Nick Saban. It's nothing against the reporters to keep asking a million times. I mean, if you have eyeballs, you know Tua is a better football player and a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. It's Tua's team. This conversation about Alabama's quarterbacks is over. If you're not convinced by now, then you're just football ignorant. You'll never be convinced. This is Tua's team. Alabama comes out, does exactly what you expect them to do against Louisville, which is dominate the game. 51-14. Louisville had no answers for Alabama defensively or offensively. Mismatches up front, mismatches outside of the skill position. Alabama's secondary played better than I thought they would too, so let me give them some credit. They lost their top 6 defensive backs from last year. You knew Louisville was going to come in and try to sling the ball around, which they did a little bit, but for the most part, Alabama was able to just nip that in the bud. Louisville really never had a chance from the get-go in this game. Anyway, that's it. The Week 2 UNCLELOU College Football Poll. I had a lot of teams in my top 10 lose Week 1. How many will lose Week 2? Some of these teams have big games next week. Georgia plays South Carolina. Clemson plays Texas A&M. We'll see. Some good ones next week. Again, we'll get into the previews over the next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you're a Patreon member, get in touch with me. Email, post on the Patreon page, whatever. Let me know what teams or what games you want me to preview that are coming up in Week 2, and I'll make sure I do those previews over the next 3 days. If you're new and want to join up on the Patreon page, then you'll get to you can pick some games. 2, live show today, 3 o'clock call-in show, the excuse hour. So we hope we hear some Tennessee fans, excuses from them. The Barn fan can call in and brag about their big win. Michigan fan call in and cry. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. We'll see how my top 10 holds up this week. Hopefully be a little better than last week. Have a good morning.